Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Happy Hasbro Tuesday. Today we are currently on Series 8, which is the first of the last releases of the Hasbro series. So 1994 is the last year that Hasbro had the contract with WWF for action figures. So 1994, we got 4 releases. And again, Series 8 was the first of the last 4 releases. Series 4, or excuse me, Series 8 is also yet another set of 6 figures that were released. So back in Series 5, you got 10 figures. And I talked about Series 10 being kind of contradictory with couple re-releases. So you could look at Series 10 as being 8 releases. You could look at it as 10 releases. And when we get to Series 10, I'll show you both the carded and the loose figures. But Series 5, we had 10 figures, 10 releases. And then once you got to Series 6, you had this whole lineup of 6 releases each year, Series 6 through Series 9. So I mean, they were definitely pumping them out, but they weren't pumping out a lot of figures. And when you start looking at, Series 1, 12 releases, Series 2, I think was another 13, if I'm not mistaken. I think Series 2, I think was like 15 releases. I think Series 3 was another 12 or 13 releases. So, yeah, I mean, there were a ton of released figures in the first few series. And then you look at these last set, Series 6 through 9, 6 figures per. I mean, it kind of went downhill from there as far as quantity. But Series 8, oh my God. Series 8, as far as quality of figures, as far as value, Series 8 might be the quintessential greatest series of the Hasbro line. Forget Series 11. Series 11 is valuable only in the essence that they weren't mass produced and there aren't as many of those figures out there today as a lot of the other series. That's the only reason Series 11 green cards are as valuable compared to the other series. When you look at Series 11, yeah, every figure, even loose, are $200+ figures. But if you take that away, in my opinion, Series 8 are the most valuable figures from the lineup. When you look at Series 8, pretty much every single figure from the lineup is basically $60 plus figures. So whether you're looking at the complete bundle or if you're looking at the individual piece, they're all crazy expensive figures. And they're all, in my opinion, they're worth it. They're all amazing pieces. So with the Series 8, they do move to a new color. As we saw in Series 7, they jumped from blue card, which was the card backing for the first 6 series. And in Series 7, they moved to yellow card. Well, in Series 8, 1994, actually, I'm going to start with this one. They moved to red cards. And we're going to start with Yokozuna. So last year, I did my favorite WWF Hasbro tournament. And I kind of wanted to get a feel for what was my favorite Hasbro figure. Now, you guys know, based on childhood memories and nostalgia of what figures I actually had as a kid growing up, I had a ton of figures from Series 1, a lot more in Series 2, and a few figures from Series 4. That was it. Nothing from Series 3, and I didn't even know about anything from Series 5 onward. Basically, the only figures I knew about from childhood were the figures that I actually had as a kid. So a lot of these figures, up until I started collecting back at the tail end of 2021, I never even saw these figures or knew about these figures' existence until I started collecting them as an adult. So I always knew that I loved the Yokozuna figure, and it has a lot to do with the way that the figure sits in your hand. I always covet the heavy figures, and when you look at like King Kong Bundy from LJN, like Giant Haystacks from Cella Toys, or One Man Gang from Zombie Sailors Toys, right? Mabel from Grapplers and Gimmicks, Yokozuna from Hasbro. I love those big, bulky characters. So I will gravitate towards the big, heavy guys. And Yokozuna was my winner of that tournament. And I pit all of the original Hasbro figures against all of my customs. And that was such a fun tournament. I mean, all of my tournaments are fun, but Series 8 Yokozuna came out victorious. And that wasn't really surprising. It kind of made sense to me. And Yokozuna does come with Sumo Smash. And of course, if you're interested, from the UK, I've talked about him plenty because I got so many non Hasbro related accessories. Raheem Sadru, he does make a lot of these non Hasbro related accessories. Um, to me, like I said, they are all well worth it. Now, guys, be aware, Raheem, he doesn't give me any free accessories or anything like that. He doesn't pay me to advertise for him or anything like that. I just bring him up because I bought from him a lot and his stuff is amazing and I recommend it. So, anyone that might be interested, I'm just basically giving a shout out for his, I guess, business, so to speak. I mean, I don't think he has like a brick and mortar store. I just think this is something that he makes for himself and he sells on like his, I don't know if he has like Instagram or something, but his accessories, like I said, they're top notch and they're worth every penny. So he does have robes in both white and red. So if you are interested in like a Yokozuna robe, that's something I highly recommend. Yokozuna, like I said, I mean he's got like one of my favorite poses. To me, the slam down pose for the Hasbro's, or if you're looking at like the Mattel Retros, for example, the simplest pose or the simplest action feature is always my favorite. It's always the go-to one. And when I talk about grip, because he's got that extra weight on him, and because he's got that rotund rump roast right in the back, the way that his butt sits in your hand, the grip of the figure, his size, the waist, is so perfect. That extra thickness, most Hasbro's, they're so tiny. Now think about this. Action figures are made for small kids, right? Now you think about LJNs and their 8-inch size. A lot of kids, they're small. They're small kids, small hands. I couldn't imagine being a child and actually utilizing the LJNs because those figures are probably more best suited for for teenagers and adults, They're like extra big. But Hasbro's, these figures are actually designed for small kids with small hands. So these figures were absolutely perfect. But even when you hold a lot of the figures, and yes, I talk about grip being perfect on a lot of the Hasbro's, the grip of the Yokozuna is absolutely flawless. Overall look and aesthetic is absolute perfect. His play pose is phenomenal. The look is incredible. And Yokozuna was such an incredible bad guy. And I talk about having like these little matches, right? And I did it a couple times with the LJNs when when I first started the channel because I wanted to have a feel for the figures because I never had them as a kid, and I wanted to have more to talk about than just their aesthetics. So I wanted to talk about playability. So I kind of put together these few Royal Rumble matches so I could talk about feel and playability with the figures when I first started the channel. So I could talk about my favorite LJN tournament. Well, I kind of did the same thing with a lot of the Hasbro's as well. Put together a few matches, just so and so. Again, I'm not wrestling these the same way I did as a kid because I don't know how to wrestle these as a kid, like I did as a child. To me, you're just And that's it. It's boring. It's not the same. But this is such a fantastic piece. I absolutely love the Yokozuna. To me, value wise, I still think of Yokozuna as like $100 Hasbro figure. When I was first collecting these back in 2022, Yokozuna was going for $75 to $90 on auction on a consistent basis, and this was one of those figures I would have liked to have stockpiled on because it was such a valuable figure. Today, I don't think you could probably spend that much. I think some people might get $30 or $40 for Yokozuna, and that's messed up because of all of the Hasbro's, because of weight and size. I think this is one of those figures that I actually think will maintain its value and actually is worth, in my opinion, a $75 price tag. Yeah. He's probably one of the very few figures I look at and I'm like, you know what? Based on height and weight, based on the actual weight of the figure, I wouldn't mind paying $75 on this. But you pick up something else, I don't know, Series 11 purple Crush figure, $400 on eBay. It's not a $400 figure, not even close. But that's what people are asking. But in my opinion, the Series 8 Yokozuna is a absolute perfect figure and easily the number one greatest Hasbro figure ever made. Number two, probably one of the most coveted and also one of the most expensive Hasbro figures ever. And it's not even a Series 11 green card figure. Coming with the Tombstone Tackle, the Undertaker. Now, a Series 4 mint on card Undertaker is probably about a $200 figure. And today, you might get it for around $130 to $150, $160 on whether on auction or as a buy it now. But a red card Series 8, no. A red card Undertaker will normally cost you on card, that is, will probably cost you somewhere in the neighborhood of about $500 to $600. And yeah, I'm pretty sure there are people on eBay that are probably gonna have it as a buy it now for like a grand. And to me, I just don't think it's that valuable. Uh, Even as a loose piece, a loose Undertaker without any accessories, pretty good condition. Like I said, almost pretty much every one of these figures from Series 8 are basically $60 figures. So I think a loose Undertaker Series 8, $60 to $80. Again, today's market, it might be around $40 to $50, but I'm comfortable, keeping in the mindset of a $60 figure. But if you can find yourself an original cloak, that jacket is what's crazy expensive. That jacket will probably set you back $100 to $200 just by itself. So anytime you find one on auction, you're paying about $250 just for the figure and jacket just because of that jacket accessory. But when I was able to finally win this, and I think I got this from an overseas seller, and that's the thing. The Series 3 Brutus Beefcake, white zebra pants, Brutus Beefcake, which is here in the States is like a $600+ figure. The Undertaker Series 8, maybe the Series 8 Bret Hart, I don't remember. But a lot of those figures that, you're paying like $600 to $1,000 here in the States, you gotta wait and see if they ever come up on sale for like someone selling in Italy or I don't know, Tel Aviv or something, somewhere overseas, because maybe you'll luck out and get it for like 350, 450 or something like that, because that's the only way you're going to save some money on these figures. This jacket, I don't know where I got this. I think this might be like a Jack Specific jacket or something. Um, I got this jacket from I think like a bundle of figures or something. I put it on and it fits beautifully. It's not an original, of course, but it looks spectacular. There was a seller on eBay. The Cape. What was his? What was the screen name? Like the Cape Crusader or something like that. And I bought a couple of capes from him, a couple of jackets, and I put it on my Undertaker figures in the past. But I like this one a lot better. I think it just works more beautifully. So Undertaker, I can't really do it now with this jacket on, but same thing as a Series 4. In the new video that we do at the end of Series 11, when we look at the prototypes and mailways and stuff like that, I'm gonna probably bring out both the Series 4, Series 8, and the brown-haired mailway version. Again, they're custom. I'm not paying $1,200 for an original. That's crazy. But the only difference you're gonna see between a Series 4 compared to a Series 8 is that Series 4 is like really red hair, where Series 8 has like really jet black hair. And when you look at the face of an Undertaker, he doesn't have that eyeshadow under his eyes. So that's how you tell the difference between the Series 4 and the Series 8 figure. But Series 4 and 8, two of my favorite figures from childhood in Bret Hart Undertaker. Both figures released in Series 4, both figures re released in Series 8 with slight modifications, and those slight modifications improve the figures just a shade, enough to put them on my list of top 10 figures. And once I get to Bret Hart, I'm gonna kind of talk about my top 10 countdown, and like how do I rate my favorite Hasbro's, right? It's kind of questionable. Undertaker, number two out of six figures. Number three, and I didn't even realize that this one is signed. That is awesome. So coming with the heart attack is Bret Hart. Yeah, it actually does say Bret Hitman Hart. I didn't even realize this one was signed. I don't know if I got this off eBay or if I got this off like Mercari or Etsy or I probably got it off eBay. I mean, most of them, pretty much everything I buy comes off eBay. So this is another one of those figures, man. Like it was getting figures like the Series 8 Bret and the Series 8 Undertaker, the Series 3 Brutus Beefcake as examples, that Series 2 Dusty Rhodes. I mean, when you pick up figures like that, they are such a weight off your shoulders because they are so rare and they're just so freaking expensive. My God. And when you're finally able to add those mint on card to your collection, it's like, whew, finally, because you want to complete the whole collection, and it's one thing to get them all loose, which is fantastic, but just to have those cards, man, it makes it even more special. So Bret Hart Series 8, absolutely incredible, and it does give you a little COA, certificate of authenticity, on the back here. That's pretty awesome. So, and of course, just like in Series 7, I had to kind of get these little pieces for my own heart because the more expensive figures, they get kind of like special protection. The Series 4 Bret Hart, as I said, Series 4 Bret Hart, the Series 4 Undertaker, the Sid Vicious Galoo figure. We're talking about the most utilized action figures ever for play for me as a child. So they're in special favor with me for a lifetime. Now, when I was doing my countdown of my favorite Hasbro figures ever, Yokozuna is at the top slot at number one, and think I think Bret Hart Series 8 came in at number two. In fact, I think when I was doing my favorite Hasbro tournament, I think Bret Hart was actually one of the three finalists. So if I remember that tournament correctly, I think Yokozuna Series 8 was a finalist, and Bret Hart Series 8 was a finalist, and I believe the Series 3 Mega Maniacs Custom of Brutus Beefcake was also a finalist. So they were a three-man finalist of that tournament, and Yokozuna Series 8 was the winner. But among original figures, I believe I have Series 8 Bret Hart at number two, Series 3 Ultimate Warrior at number three, and Black Pants Shawn Michaels from Series 10 at number four, right? Now, I mention that because of the repaints, right? So think about it this way. If I say Yokozuna is number one, would I say, well, would Series 11 Black and White Yokozuna be number two? This be number three. Series 4 Bret be number four. That makes Purple Warrior number five. And then Shawn Michaels Black number six. Shawn Michaels White from Series 7 number seven. But then that's crazy because now you're looking at, you know, Ultimate Warrior not as a Series 3, not as a number three best figure. Now you're looking at him as a number five best figure. So that's how my mind works. And it's insane. And you're looking at Black Pants Shawn Michaels not as a fourth best figure, but now as a sixth best figure. And so what I'm thinking is, well, if he is, I don't know, 2A, maybe Series 4 is 2B. But I don't want to do that, right? So, but does that make like Bret Hart Series 4 further down the list? Does that make him like number 19 maybe or something? I don't know. I've never gone further than a top 10 list, but I just I just think that this was, again, after all, I said the Series 4 Bret Hart was one of the most perfect playable wrestling action figures ever. It was a figure I absolutely was obsessed with as a child. And as an adult, the overall color scheme of the Series 8 was absolutely immaculate. And I got one of my friends to try to paint me a Series 8 figure onto a LJN figure. It wasn't completed, so it's a kind of was an unfinished product. I mean, I think it was like 90%, 95% complete, but I would have liked a 100% finished product, and I think it would have actually been so much more perfect. But either way, Bret Hart Series 8, like I said, uh, to get this figure on card, such a weight off the shoulders. If you are looking for a Series 8 Bret loose, depending on the buyer or the seller, excuse me, normally this is one of the most expensive figures you're ever going to pay. You're gonna pay for. Most Series 8 Bret Harts will always be three figures. You're always gonna pay over $100 for this figure. Generally, I'm gonna say anywhere between $125 to $200 for this figure. Now, with that being said, with the right seller, if he's a new seller or if he's a seller that doesn't normally sell action figures, like I said, if this you have this woman here that's sells women's clothes, but maybe she just throws in a random action figure that she found, she might get $75 for this figure. Or if this guy over here is selling auto parts, motorcycle parts or something, but he finds a random figure that he wants to throw in on his eBay or something. Yeah, same thing. He might get $75 for that figure. So you can find a Bret Hart. I mean, I myself, I specialize in selling a lot of action figures. Hell, I think the most expensive figure I think I myself sold a Bret Hart that was in adequate shape, pretty good shape, and I only got like $70, $75 for it. So you can get Bret Hart Series 8 for under $100. So 75 to $90 is pretty darn respectable, but generally more times than not you are going to pay up over $100 for this figure. All right, that's Bret Hart. Another really awesome piece, and I love this look, man. And we are looking at Bam Bigelow, and he comes with Bam Bam Slam. So I always just love this particular look. Now, obviously, the first time that I could actually remember Bam Bam Bigelow, obviously, I had to have seen him in wrestling, right? But I also remember him from the video games. I don't know which video game it was, but I remember Bam Bam Bigelow being in one of the video games, and what was kind of stood out about that video game is he used to always do cartwheels in the video game, and it was so odd seeing like a man of his size doing cartwheels, and I can't remember what video game that was, but it's funny nowadays seeing like all of these video games, all these wrestling video games made by LJN. Now, until the end of 2021, when I started all of this, started collecting and started building up all of this, right? Um, if you ask me who LJN was, I don't know. I've never heard of LJN before, but that's inaccurate. Of course, I knew who LJN was because we had all of these video games made by LJN. So I was actually very familiar with LJN. It just, when you're young, you're not thinking about who manufactured these games. I mean, Acclaim, later on, if you ask me, like, who was Acclaim, I could say, yeah, they're probably manufacture, like, these fighting games or something, because when you're playing, like, Sega Genesis or Super Nintendo or something, you're familiar with that, but later on, but, like, LJN earlier in the years, I probably wouldn't have remembered all that. But, yeah, we had a ton of these wrestling video games, and they were all manufactured by LJN, so, um, I have all these video games I've acquired over the last couple of years. I haven't played any of them, and the couple of them that I have played, like Steel Cage and WrestleMania. I'm like, oh my god, these are so horrible. I remember playing them as a kid and absolutely being in love with them, and I playing them as an adult. I'm like, these graphics are so terrible, and it's just so friggin' boring. This is garbage. How did I enjoy this as a kid? So I bought the games for nostalgia, just to have. Maybe I will play them some point in my life, but for right now, I'm like, no, I have no interest. Bam Bam Bigelow. Thank God Hasbro did not give Yokozuna this body, because I'm thinking that this is one of those figures that they could have gone with. But they were smart. They gave Yokozuna his own physique, which was fantastic. The other thing that they could have done, Kamala from Series 7. I think Kamala Series 7, this is probably the one option that they could have gone with. I really like the look of the fused legs on Kamala, so maybe they made the right choice. But all in all, I mean, with the natural disasters, with Earthquake and Typhoon, as well as Bam Bam Bigelow, you could have added Kamala as well. I mean, I think they all have roughly the same physique, roughly, right? So it would have made sense. And, very simple but playable pose. Bam Bam Bigelow, again, he is one of those figures I try to pick up as often as I can because he's a very valuable figure. If you get a figure and his tattoos are completely filled in, the skin tone, head, and arms all match up, there's no real paint loss or anything on the figure. This is a $60 figure for you guys. So this is a solid investment. I mean, even if there's like, there's discoloration in the head and skin and chest and all that, the tattoos are all messed up. This is still a good $30 to $40 figure. So, if you're looking on auction and you come across a figure and like, hey, somebody's got this listed for $9 on auction and you're the only bidder and you win it, $5 shipping, taxes, you pay $20 on it. Hey, pick that thing up. You don't need it for yourself, but you want to resell it. Just don't mark it up crazy. Don't think you're going to buy it for $20 and resell it for $60, $75 because you're not going to get your money's worth. But no, you buy it for $20 and want to resell it for 30, you can if you want, because I think that's still a reasonable resale price. Again, I think any Bam Bigelow for $30 is a very reasonable price. Like I said, I think Bam Bigelow market value tells me that $60 is fair market value on this figure. And when I price this figure, I get I get around $30 to $40 for it. I have gotten $50 plus. I have gotten $60 plus on this figure. So it's sometimes I have a worse shaped figure and I get 60 plus. Sometimes I got a mint figure and I got like 35 or 38. So it really depends on who's buying at what stage. So, but $30 to $60, it's a good price for this figure. Uh, Mr. Perfect, who does come with the Perfect Plex, and I think that's the exact same thing he comes with in Series 3, Perfect Plex. So, for those viewers who may not be aware, Mr. Perfect does come with a dual colored singlet because on occasion I might come across a viewer, or not viewer, excuse me, a uh, a seller on eBay who thinks that the figure is a custom because it has dual colored singlet. They think that it's a Series 3 that somebody repainted. I'm like, no, that's not the case. So in Series 3, it was a all yellow singlet. Here's the thing. Based on 2022 market value compared to, let's say, 2024 market value, uh we're still too early in 2025 to think about today's value, but 2022, a Series 3 figure was going for like $40. A Series 8 was going for around 60. Now, shoot ahead a couple years, 2024. I've sold a million Series 3 figures, and I was normally getting around $15 for it. So, um, that $40 price tag that I was always paying for a Series 3 figure or thinking I was going to sell for, no, that just ain't happening anymore. But I think $15 to $25 for a Series 3 is reasonable. But I still say that a Series 8 blue Mr. Perfect, you're still up there. That price tag is not coming down for a Series 8 figure, especially if it's a roughly, mint shaped figure as well. No paint loss, no paint bleed, strong arms, working action feature and all that. So I still say, like I said, it's a Series 8. I still say all Series 8 figures are approximately $60 plus. So I will give him a range of about $60. It might be a top off, but I think if you can get this figure for around $40, you're in good condition. But around $40 to $60, I think is reasonable. $75 might be pushing it. I don't know who's paying $75 for a Mr. Perfect, but again, $60 I think is reasonable. $40, I think you made a hell of a buy if you can get a Mr. Perfect for that price. And like I said, Series 3 and a Series 4, or excuse me, Series 8, literally the exact same figure. They just repainted. So, whether you're looking at these figures, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, whether you're looking at these figures individually or if you're looking at them as a complete bundle, Series 8 is easily one of the most expensive set of figures of the entire line. So, and the last piece we're going to look at is the Narcissist Lex Luger, who comes with the Narcissist, I cannot pronounce this, Narcissistic Knockout. I think I said it right. Uh, you know what's funny? On Series 8, they only put the 6 wrestlers on here. They don't put any other past figures, which is different, I guess. Hmm. And is this a perfect card? I don't see any creases. So there's like some kind of tape or residue up here. Somebody may have removed a sticker. Also, from Raheem Sadru, you get the narcissistic robe and full length mirror. And I think with the full length mirror and the robe, I think you only paid like $20 or something for it. So I mean that was like a really awesome addition for the accessory. So or for the figure. So I think that was pretty incredible. So yeah, these two are displayed together. Take off the belt. And that is his robe, cape, excuse me. And pretty much just like any other figure that we've seen in past series, Axe from Series 1, Hulk Hogan from Series 1, British Bulldog from Series 4, Ultimate Warrior from Series 2, later on Ludwig Borga in Series 11, to an extent, um, freaking Warlord from Series 5, etc., right? Basically, any of these figures that have the open hand, they all have that little slamming motion. So, again, I've never been against the figures with the open hands, and it is an overall great looking figure. There is a Lex. I've had many Lex Luger figures, and I've always resold them. And sometimes I think I resell them for less than what I paid for them, which always sucks because it's like you buy a Lex Luger on auction, you pay $21 or something for it, shipping, taxes, you probably go all in for like $30, and maybe you resell it for like 23, and then after eBay fees and everything, you probably earn like 15. So like, damn, dude, you just took like a $15 loss. But no, like sometimes I buy the figures because maybe somebody was inquiring about it, and you reach out and you try to buy figures that people are asking about, and that way you have it. So when they ask about it again, you have it for them. And I've talked about it plenty, man. I don't try to sit there and mark up the figures. When someone asks me specifically about something, I go and I buy the figures that they want. So, and I normally ask just to cover what I paid into it. So I don't try to get $1 million for it. And a lot of times they want to throw extra money my way, finder's fees. I'm like eternally grateful for that. That's awesome. But normally with these figures, once I buy it, yeah, the intention is to resell, obviously. But with Lex Luger, because he is a very valuable figure, right? One of the things I wanted to do is kind of convert a Hasbro Lex Luger into like the All American Lex Luger. but I can't find like a really beat up one bad enough that I can customize. Well, not me personally, but yeah, I can get customized. So I haven't been able to do so, but they have that Mattel Retro All American version, right? So do I really need this one to be customized the same way? It makes no sense. But that's what I want. Maybe get one on red card customized, but I'm not paying that type of money for a mint on card version just to get it all Americanized, customized. So Lex Luger might be questionable in terms of value today. 2022, $60 figure all day. 2024, is it still a $60 figure? Maybe not so much. Like I said, this one might be going for around $20 or $30 nowadays. So if you get a super freaking mint figure, I mean, perfect, strong arms, perfect working action, no markings, no paint loss, no paint bleed. Yeah, it could shoot up to $60. I could see that happening. But with the right seller, could you potentially find one for around $20 to $30? Yes. And could I be one of those sellers that sells it to you for around $20 to $30? Possibly. Do I currently have an extra to sell? I don't. Sorry. But the rest of these figures, you're probably going to look at north of $40 to $100. Um, really, Bam Bam and Mr. Perfect are probably the ones you could probably get for around $40 if you're lucky. Bret Hart is definitely $100 figure, no doubt. Yokozuna, I think, is still going to net you $50 to $60, even on a bad day. Undertaker should be a $50 to $60 figure, even without cloak. Bam Bam should be a $60 figure, but again, it really depends on the sellers. But Lex Luger, I mean, I've talked about this every time I talk about Lex Luger. I always bring up the same story because it's really the only it's really the only story I can remember about Lex Luger. I only have really like three memories of Lex Luger, to be honest. And one of my biggest memories, because I actually watched it, I think on TV when it aired. So Independence Day, 1993, I believe. Day prior, he was this narcissist Lex Luger, only cared about himself, showing off. Next day, what was it? USS Intrepid, I believe it was called. He comes in on the helicopter, decked out in American colors, shows up to the body slam challenge. Bobby Heenan steps in, tries to stop him, brushes him off, steps in the ring. Of course, Yokozuna tries to fight him off, like, keep him from slamming him, but no, he eventually gets the upper hand, slams him. Now, when you look at Yokozuna, you look at his size. There is no way that anybody is going to have the arm range to get their arms around him to a point where they're going to actually be able to lift him up, right? It's not like you can just, throw your arms around a box and just pick it up. That'd be a different story. But with his mass, you're not going to have the grip to be able to lift that. So of course, Yokozuna is going to have to jump up a bit, and when you're not talking about bringing up over the shoulder type of body slam. I mean, he basically had him like so, and then basically put him down like that. So it wasn't even a real body slam, but they counted it. And Lex Luger, body slam challenge winner. And what was it? WrestleMania 10. When did uh when did Lex Luger and Bret Hart, when did they challenge Yokozuna for the heavyweight championship? I know there's a coin challenge that Lex Luger won, and he ended up losing to Yokozuna in the first match. And because Yokozuna already wrestled once, and Bret Hart, he couldn't go in there, fresh. He had to face somebody himself, and he ended up scoring out against I think Owen Hart in a matchup, and then and then Bret and Yoko dueled, and then Yoko defeated him. I think it was WrestleMania 10. When was it? 94. I think that was outside, so that had to be. I want to say 94 because I think 94 was the 94 Royal Rumble that everybody complained about because both Bret and Lex won the Royal Rumble. I think Lex actually won that one, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, and of course, the biggest complaint about that whole entire WrestleMania was the 10 seconds that Yokozuna was actually champion before Hulk Hogan stepped in and defeated him. I'm like, yeah, that whole concept, I guess, was a completely stupid idea. But all right, guys, that's it for now, man. I mean, that's your that's your six figures from Hasbro Series 8. And like I said, Series 8 was so freaking loaded with amazing figures after amazing figures. There were no bad figures in this setup, and they're all priceless figures. They're all valuable. They're all amazing pieces, great characters, great designs. Love the series because of the sheer quantity. I think what was it, 13 figures? I think, if I'm not mistaken, 12 figures that were in Series 3. And with the amount of characters, the figures, the designs, I still give credit to Series 3 as having the best overall figures. Series 4, because of nostalgia, having the British Bulldog and the Undertaker, Bret Hart, I might give Series 4 a leg up. Also considering figures I didn't have, but you look at what else they produced, Legion of Doom and Nasty Boys. Also throw in Ricky Steamboat, which is a pretty nice design. I'm like, you know what? Series 4 might be the second best series. And I'm probably going to give Series 3 and 4 the top two seeds. I'm putting Series 8 as the third best series. So far, out of the 8 series that we've looked at, I'm going 3, 4, 8, 7 as the top four. And that will leave, I don't know, 6, 5, 2, 1, maybe, as the next set. All right, guys. So that does conclude Series 8 review. Next week, we will looking at Series 9. We're looking at technically 6 figures, but really only 5 new figures with a re-release on Purple Card of someone we've already seen in Series 6. But nonetheless, we are getting closer to the end of the Hasbro run. Once we complete all 11 series, we will go back and we will look at mailways and prototypes. And then I'm going to come back with one more final episode where we will look at the unreleased Series 12. Now, none of these figures were obviously produced by Hasbro, but in the last year or two, companies from Grapplers and Gimmicks, from Hasbro Toys, so Hasbro Toys, Grapplers, and Gimmicks, from Zombie Sailors, Heels and Faces, and from Mattel Retros, they have all come out with characters and figures or designs that were originally, with the ideas that were originally from Hasbro back in the early 90s or mid 90s. So we're going to look at those figures as well. Once again, guys, if you haven't already seen them, all of these videos have already been filmed a year, 2 years ago. So if you're interested in watching any of those videos or any of those past reviews, you can look at my channel and look at the playlist and look at any of those past videos. But if you're wanting to see these for the first time ever, um, again, every Tuesday I'm going to come out with a new review, so that way it'll be fresh and new for you guys. That's it for now, guys. As always, thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment if you'd like. I will talk to you in the comments and see you in the next video. Take care, everybody.